Hello, sweet sisters. Wanted to jump on here and have you drink in some sunshine here this morning. I wanted to jump on before I go to do my hike today. You know, I talk all the time about keeping our physical vessel strong and healthy, so even if you can only get out 20 minutes a day. But I did want to jump on right quick and share with you something, share with you a quick something. So I hear from a lot of you. I have emails, I have messages. Some of you will send me videos to look at. I've had phone calls with some of you, and I love interacting with you. Good morning, Terry. Good morning, Cynthia and Gail and Kay. Well, one of the videos that was sent to me, I see all the hearts out there. One of the videos that were sent to me was a video, and she was saying, Kim, is this real? And so we had a discussion about how part of it was real. Hello, Vashti, sweet sister, so good to see you. And how part of it wasn't. But here's something interesting, is that even though I didn't buy into a portion of the video, it did intrigue me enough that I actually ordered the book by the author. And so the book is called The 5 Lessons of Life, and it's by a woman named Carrie Kohan, Kohan. Well, this is how the soul works, because I needed to be reminded of a lesson. And so through the video and the dinging in my soul, remember, good morning from Florida, good morning from Mississippi. I'm glad to see you all on here. Terry, you were in my state and you were thinking of me. Thank you. And hello, Sonia. Wow, we're having a big reunion here today. Well, I wanted to share this because the video was only a stepping stone, because then I heard something that person said, and I went, let me go check out her book. So I checked out her book, ordered it, and read it over the weekend. And that is how the soul nudges us, and has us follow the breadcrumbs per se. So it was important enough of a book. It's called The 5 Lessons of Life by Carrie Kohan. It was important enough that I wanted to remind you of something that she said. I thought it was very profound. And this woman had a number of near-death experiences. Good morning, Wanda. And good morning, Carol. This woman had a number of near-death experiences, and she shares her conversations with God and her divine team. We all call it something different. Hers, it was called the Council of Men. Everybody calls it. Oregon is in the house. Woohoo! Michigan, I love it. I have the whole country pop up in the morning. But I wanted you to just breathe in and just drink this in. Because one of the most important things that she learned was that there were 5 lessons of life. That every experience that we have, hello Joshie, hello Diane, that every experience, you know what, before I go here, isn't it fun? It's like we're all friends now. I mean, like I count on seeing your names. I can't tell you how much joy that brings me. And I hope it's a reminder to you to know how important you are to me. So good morning from Wisconsin. Karen, I see you. So the 5 lessons of life. Now this was really interesting because she said, she talks quite a bit about it. I'm only going to pull out 2 things, but she says that every time that we have an experience, this is what her team was telling us, that the 5 lessons of life are this: unconditional love, forgiveness, faith, trust, and compassion. Let me repeat that one more time. Unconditional love, forgiveness, faith, trust, and compassion. I see you, California. Now, these 5 things sound like things that we've heard of. I get it. But she had a series of questions that I thought was so interesting. And that every time someone has been in our life and they hurt us, either physically or emotionally. Look at all the hearts today. And I've got Canada in the house, North Carolina, woohoo! Now remember, as I've told you before, is that every time we all come together, I want you to think of all these cosmic energetic threads that go between you and I, and then multitude around us around the world. So that's exciting. So that know that even wherever you are sitting here, I wanted you to enjoy the little bit of the sunshine here today, because I know it's been gloomy for some of you. I just want you to know how important your connection is, just by the sheer vibration of your jumping on here. Well, she gave us some questions, and I wanted to share this with you because I thought this was important. Again, it's a book by Carrie Kohan, Kohan. And she said, you know, when someone has hurt us physically or emotionally, ask us 5 questions. Do I love this person unconditionally? Yowza, is that a hard one, right? I've been battling with that myself as I deal with issues even close to me. Do I forgive them? Many of us have been working on forgiveness. Do I have faith they are or were in my life for a reason? Isn't that an interesting question? Most of us would rather just send them on our way. I see Oklahoma. The next question is this. Do I trust that our experiences together will serve the collective moving forward? Kind of another version of do I trust that everything happens for a reason? And lastly, do I have compassion for them? Now, this was a reminder because I needed to be reminded of this issue of loving someone unconditionally. Unconditionally means that you love them despite their beliefs. Unconditionally means that you love them on their good days and their bad days. Yay, Diana. Unconditionally, I've really been diving into this whole opinion about unconditional love for the past few years because I have found, and hello from the Philippines, good to see you, Maria. I have found this concept of unconditional love to be one that's a tough one because I don't think there's many people in the world who have actually experienced unconditional love. Think about that for a minute. You know, we talk about love, but many times we've all experienced conditional love. And I, for one, that was one of the beautiful things about when I got married, and I needed to be reminded of this myself as we go through these times, is that unconditional love for me helped me blossom like a flower. It's good to be reminded. Now, I'm going to flip this on the other side, though, because the divine guidance that she was given is that these questions are not just applied to those souls who are outside of you, that you perceive to be outside of you, but they are also applied to yourself. And this, sweet sisters, is what I was inspired to bring up today. So I want you to breathe. I want you to breathe in and just relax. Because this concept around self is not an easy one for many. But I'm convinced that we are entering a period of time where we can heal all of that. We can heal all of that. So here are the 5 questions for yourself personally. Do I love myself unconditionally? Do I forgive myself unconditionally for all that I've said or done? Breathe into it. Do I have faith that I am on the right path? Do I trust that everything has happened for the best possible outcome? And do I have compassion for myself in all ways? So let's take each one slowly because I have done this enough to know that this is a real issue for those of us as women. And to all the guys on my call, all the gentlemen, please consider it as well. Know that I don't forget about you. You're an important part of this. And if you are being drawn to this podcast or to this broadcast, there's a reason for it. I'll be doing one soon to talk about the difference with masculine and feminine energy. So let's start with the first one. Do I love myself unconditionally? So sweet sisters, if this is making you uncomfortable, I can feel that it makes some of you uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable for a long time. Do I love myself unconditionally? If you know what the answer is to that, and it's not a positive answer, then it simply means that we have more room to grow here on our soul journey. So ask yourself, what does that mean? How do I love myself unconditionally? The second question, do I forgive myself unconditionally for all I have said or done? I remember being wound up around so many things that I had not forgiven myself for. Wound up. And when we don't forgive ourselves and others, you know, we've known this, it gets to be really hard sometimes to let that baggage go. And forgiving ourselves, that can be such a burden. So sweet sisters, if that's anything that you have been tap dancing with, then consider this message and today no accident. It was no accident that Tana sent me a video last week that then led me to this book, that then led me to read it yesterday, that led me to do the broadcast today. You see the beauty of how life works? Do I forgive myself unconditionally for all that I've said or done? The next question, do I have faith I am on the right path? You know, that's one of those things so many of us believe that there has to be a specific path. If we knew our purpose, if we knew our path, then we could jump on it and do things right. And what I'm finding is that the path is really more like a maze, or more like a GPS, I suppose. There are lots of different ways to get to our destination. So if you're holding on to a certain path really tightly, perhaps we could release our grip and say, okay, I have faith that I am on the right path today, and that I'm going to ask my soul, my divine team, to guide me if I need some nudging. If I don't find myself on that right path, then what is holding me back? And for many of us, it would be fear. The fourth question, do I trust that everything has happened for the best possible outcome? Excuse me. Do I trust that everything has happened for the best possible outcome? That's a hard one, isn't it? When we find if we've had failed marriages or children, relationship with children that had problems, or problems with spouses or siblings or parents. It's funny how life comes full circle, though. I know, Ida. Dear one, you were one of the ones I thought about when I actually read this, and I knew. And I knew that, Ida, so know that I'm holding you tenderly, dear, okay? Do I trust that everything has happened for the best possible outcome? Sunshine, yes, Rita, drink it in. Even me, remember I've told you that time in my life where I lost everything and I was bankrupt, and I remember thinking life would never be good again. Terry, you just received my book and you love it. Yay, Terry, that makes me so happy. A lot of love was poured into that book, Terry. So even if you just have the book beside you and you just put your hand on it or just simply drink in the love, I promise you I was so intentional about pouring as much healing and as much love and support as I could. But in that book, actually, interestingly enough, is a result of my having gone through that time. I'm not sure I would have had the wisdom to share had I not gone through the darkest time of my life. And isn't that what many of us find? We can do hard times poorly, and it can take us out and wipe us out for the world, or we can do it well. And I discovered that all comes down to choice. And so one of my personal journeys for healing was the fact of understanding that difficult time in my life happened for a reason, that me and my hard head had to hit rock bottom in order for me to come back stronger than ever. So I want you to think about that, if you would. I invite you to think about that. Do I trust that everything has happened for the best possible outcome? And what was so interesting for this woman to be saying this, now this is why it was such a revelation for her, is that she shares a story of how she was molested when she was a toddler. And that experience led her to becoming one of the premier advocates for children in Canada. And she's gone on to be one of the major advocates, win multiple awards, and has made a profound difference in the lives of thousands of children. And she said, the reality is even as difficult as that experience was for me, I hear you, Terry. I hear you. As difficult as that experience was for me, it led to me being able to serve for the greatest good. And that was really impressive when I was looking at that. Wow, what a way to look at that, right? What a way to look at that. And then the last question, and do I have compassion for myself in all ways? Compassion is, that word I've been talking about for the past few weeks. I don't know if you felt it this weekend, but I literally could feel a shift in the energy on Saturday. I could feel a little bit of a lightness. Did any of you feel it? On Saturday was the first time in many months that I have felt this break in the energy. And even though it was just for a little while in the afternoon, it was like this, it was like I could feel the collective energy breathe for just a moment, and I could feel the energy rise. Cindy, when you open up to people about experiences, you find many people have had them. Yes, they have, Cindy. And that's what I believe we're going through right now together, is a collective period of healing. Thank you for your wisdom. It's no accident that we're all here. You know, Barbara, it absolutely isn't, dear one. It absolutely isn't. And so I wanted to share those with you because 5 simple lessons. 5. That's all. Unconditional love, forgiveness, faith, trust, and compassion. That's it. Those are big, though, aren't they? Big, big, big things. Big things. And I thought the questions that she brought back, both for asking about ourselves with other people and asking of ourselves, were really profound. I needed to be reminded of that this weekend. I've done a great deal of work on these things over the past decades, keep in mind. I see lots of hearts. I see that it's resonating here today, and I'm so glad about that. I'm so glad about that. I needed to be reminded of what loving unconditionally is. Our human self likes to be steeped in judgment and frustration, anger, disappointment. I see all the hearts. I see this is resonating. Disappointment was probably one of the biggest emotions that I've struggled with in life, is just disappointment in so many things, in so many ways. I mean, and even this year, watching things unfold. Disappointment was the feeling I kept battling with. And so when we think about unconditional love, you know, I keep going back, we think of it individually, but I also think about it collectively. And do we have unconditional love for us collectively? And I admit I was struggling with that this year. I would have a good day and then a bad day. I see some of your thumbs up. I would have a good day and a bad day. And the thing is that I keep going back to that moment. I don't know if you saw the original Wonder Woman movie that came out with Gal Gadot a couple of years ago. My daughter and I were there. And it was about at the very end, there was this moment that gave me chills. My daughter and I were so moved by it that there was this big battle for good and evil towards the end of the movie. And evil was telling this Wonder Woman, Cindy, I feel like I've aged 50 years this past year. Amen, sister. So do I. Every new wrinkle I have is attributed to 2020. So I get it. I'm sure they're going to be having 2020 facials or some kind of support group or cream for something like that. So I'm with you, Cindy. I really am. But this moment in the movie, it was where she was so frustrated with humanity because she saw they were making choices to harm each other and to be frustrated with each other. And she was mad at them. She was mad at the harm they were causing. And goodness knows I've dealt with that this year. Have you? Angry at the way choices that people have made. How could we allow these things to happen? And right in her moment of frustration, evil was egging her on and say, destroy them all, Diana. Destroy them all, because he knew she had the power to. Good morning, Twain, sweet sister. Honeybee, sweet sister, sending you love. At that moment, he was egging her on and saying, destroy them, destroy them, destroy them. And I remember right at the end of the movie, she says, they are all the things that you have said. And so much more. And she found in her the greater strength to fight the evil and to help save humanity. It was only a few lines, and it was such a small moment. And every time I find that I'm frustrated, lots of anger, I try to smash it right away. I get it, Becky. The thing about with our feelings, though, is that when the feeling shows up, it's important for us to give it space, to understand it, feel it, let it work our way through, and not ignore it, because they don't really go away. Feelings are like a dashboard to whatever's happening. And that moment in the movie, so every time I come back now, when I'm frustrated, I go back to, yes, humanity has done all of these things. But they've also done a lot of wonderful things. There's so much more. And so part of my journey this week is going to be figuring out, how do I extend that unconditional love to humanity as well? But please understand that what I'm talking about is like a concentric set of circles. So we're here in the middle, okay? We have to do what we need to do with ourselves. Then we come out to others. And then we come out even larger to humanity. The lovely thing that I learned from this marriage that I'm in, despite living with a 100-year-old woman, despite families being very different, is that unconditional love broke through a place where I had shut myself down. I had almost turned into ice a few years ago. Can anybody relate? Where you just don't feel anything at all because any feeling is too painful. And the early part of our relationship, I mean, I was never getting married again. The early part of our relationship, I was like so scared and nervous, but somehow that trust we built early on in our relationship, it broke through that barrier. And I remember my husband saying, wow, I just had no idea, because I knew you loved me, but something changed in you. And what it was a blossoming. And that's when I realized the power of unconditional love. And so even on difficult times, I keep going back to that moment and realizing that we've served each other, both of us, very, very well. As John Lennon said it best, let it be. Jackie, do you believe in heaven and hell? Yeah, Twain, I hear you, hon. So Jackie, that's a really, really big question. You know, as humans, I'll tell you what I learned, is that early in my religious life, I'd bought into the dogma that I could wait until I got to heaven and then things would be good. And if I was bad, then there was a hell. But I have to tell you, two things happened. I became a lazy human because I kept waiting to get to heaven. And I was living hell on earth then. So there was a moment that I came through that it didn't really matter whether there was heaven or hell. At this moment, I decided to release the fear and realize that I had the power to create my heaven on earth. I didn't have to wait for it. And that was a profound moment for me, because I started to invest less energy in being afraid of hell, and I completely let it go. Remember, I told you I really got rid of fear and judgment, shame and guilt, erased it from my world. It is no place in my world at all. And I went through the days asking myself, how do I create heaven on earth? Now, I'm not here to convince anybody of that. That was my personal journey. And what that did is that ignited a passion in me and took me on a path of wisdom and peace, joy and healing, that I'm able to be here in this space today. Sweet sisters, if you had known me 15 years ago, I was an absolute wreck. 10 years ago, I was marginally getting better. 18 years ago, disaster. Disaster with a capital D. I don't know how else to explain that to you. I talk about that in the book because I wanted to be very transparent with people. So I really did get so lazy. I remember saying to myself, God, just take, I'm just going to wait to hang on till heaven, hang on till heaven. And I had found I was in this enduring mode. I wasn't living, I was enduring. And I don't believe that's what we're here for. And so what happens on the other side, sweet sisters? There are so many differing views out there. I don't know. But what I do know is this, is that I can live the fullest every day now. That each now moment. So here's something really interesting. Each now moment is where the power is. And so this one will blow your mind. Let me see. Do I tell you? Do I share it or not? I can share it lightly. Okay. So many of us get caught up in thinking of a linear time. Past, present, and future. And we think of it as a long line, and we think of the past behind us and the future in front of us and where we are as the present. Well, Rita, you are my reminder of what I've been learning. Rita, the universe does that when we need a reminder. That's how it happens. What I ran across recently is, instead of it being a linear thing, that past, present, and future is flopped on its side. So past is here, present is here, and future is here. Breathe into this, because I know this is going to surprise some of you. And the lesson is that our understanding of time is very different than what's on the other side, because literally what all three of these things do is they collapse, and the only thing we have is the now. N-O-W. Now. And if we were to reverse those letters, it would be the word one. W-O-N. So fascinating, isn't it? We tend to not want to look in the back, and the rear view mirror, or some of us are carrying on anchors from the rear view mirror. A lot of us carry anchors. Whew, I had to work extra hard to cut off the anchors because it was getting heavy. I mean, I had an anchor for all kinds of things, and I would sling them over my shoulder, thinking, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with the forgiveness. I don't want to deal with the disappointment. I don't want to deal. And then it got too heavy for me to keep walking. And so I had to turn around and I had to look each one of them in the face and say, what do I want to do with this now? Now. N-O-W, now. What I do know is that us in this moment, we can instantaneously choose to heal, learn these 5 lessons of life at a deeper level than we've ever had before. During these changeover times, we are being invited to release what we no longer need. To release what we no longer need. So I encourage you. I encourage you to simply write down the words, see what kind of message they have for you here today, and see where your soul, where your divine team takes you. All I know is I was asked to share the message, and a special thanks to Tana for sending me the video to get me to the book, to get me to this message, to get me here to you. Nothing we do is by accident, sweet sisters. Nothing. We are all a very, very important part of the larger story. And no matter where you live, and no matter how small you may feel, you, sweet sisters, are anything but small. Have a blessed day, everybody, on this Sunday. Know you are deeply loved, and know that yourself really wants you to love yourself as well. Take care, everyone.